are you this Friday afternoon? I hope you are having a great afternoon. And if you're not, maybe I can lift your spirits just a little bit and inspire you to be extra creative. I've got a really fun project for you guys today, but I got to handle the housekeeping first. You guys know the drill. We got to go through all the housekeeping first before we get into all of the fun stuff. But the housekeeping is good information, so you definitely want to pay attention. Hi, Bonnie. Michelle is here. She is our admin. Debbie is here. I called you admin. I'm not sure that's your title, but I mean, you're here to keep us all in line. Michelle's the boss of the chat. Okay, everybody, just do what she says. I know I will. She said it works. Okay, that works for me too. Alrighty. Hi, Wanda. How are you? Hi, S-Barb girl. Diane is here. All right, Gina's here too. So we're going to get started. Let's deal with all the housekeeping. So the first thing I want to mention to you guys, which I know I've mentioned a couple of times, but I want to mention this first before I go through the little rundown that we do, is that we still have some seats left for Beadfest. And I want you to come and join us for that. And if you're going to be in the area, this is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania at the end of July. It's like that transition between July and August. We're doing a workshop. It's not just me, it's the Art Beads design team crew, and you're going to get 5 projects out of it, you guys. 1 class, 5 projects, which is completely unheard of. Because normally you have to buy those individually, but we decided that we would do all of ours together so that we all could enjoy spending the time together, which we are going to do. And guys, there's other stuff going on at Beadfest as well. There is an after party that we're going to be having where there are fun things going on there. There are going to be things going on the stage, and then of course all of the other vendors that are there. But we want you to come and fill up those seats at our workshop. We've only got a handful of those left, and guys, we have a little bit of a unexpected things happening here. We have a coupon code that you can use as well to get yourself a little bit of a discount, which will be in the chat. I don't want to mess it up because I don't want to give you the wrong coupon code, because I think I've confused it. I think it's artbeads.com 25, but I don't want to mess that up. So I want you to check out the Eric has the code. I want you guys to get the correct coupon code before you go to try to use it. There it is, artbeads25. See, I knew I was going to mess that one up. I should have written it down. But yeah, so there is a $25 off coupon if you want to join us. We really want you to. We really would love to have you. All right, so now let's move on to the other important things that we've got going on. So during today's show, anytime during the show, you can click on that shopping cart, or shopping bag, I should say, on the side of your screen. It's going to pull up all of the information about all of the items that are in today's show. You can get all of the information as well as add those items to your cart and check out all while watching the show. It's just going to make me a little bit smaller. And after you have closed out your cart, if you'll click on me, it'll make me nice and big again, and you can finish up with the project. Now, that's nice because it means you don't have to navigate away and then navigate back. But if you do happen to have to leave the show, I get it, things happen, then you can always come back and watch this as a video on demand. This is really helpful for when you've ordered your items and they show up and maybe you've forgotten what you were going to do with them. You can watch the video on demand and fast forward straight to the project or straight to the step that you need. You can also, while you're on the website, check out all of the other projects that are there as well, as there is a whole library of projects, not just mine, but all of the other design team members as well, and you can rewatch those as many times as you want to, which is super handy, especially if you're like in a creative slump. You know, sometimes that happens and you need a little inspiration, and a great way to do that is to check out those previous projects. All right, now while you are on the website, which I hope you are checking often because that is where all of the Art Beats news happens, be sure you're signing up for the newsletter, because that is the #1 way to stay in the know of all things Art Beats, other than, of course, checking the website and checking it often. But you're going to get all of the good information sent directly to your inbox if you'll sign up for that newsletter. That way you will know all about what is happening with the Art Beats team, and you will be able to know what kinds of discounts and deals and special things we've got going on. So you will be in the know. All right, if you happen to be joining us from Facebook, we like to make shopping for you easy as well. There is going to be a little box in the top corner of your screen where you are going to type in the item numbers. Well, they're not really item numbers, but the little codes for each of the items that are in the show today. And when you do that, a link for that item will be sent directly to you. So even if you are joining us from Facebook, you can still shop very easily. Now, that being said, we do hope that you will join us from the Real Art Beads website instead of Facebook, because I can't see your comments if you are joining us from Facebook. And if you want to be part of the conversation, please consider scooching on over. That's a technical term, scooching, just a scooch. Scooch on over to the Art Beads website and join the live from there so that you can be a part of the conversation, because that's where the party's happening. And trust me, this comment section sometimes can get a little crazy and you don't want to miss out on any of the fun that happens there. And if you would like to further the conversation that happens here in the chat, then you can join the Serious Art Beaters Facebook group and continue the conversation over to Facebook, and also be super inspired by all of the amazing pictures with the community there that is posting pictures of what they're making with their art beads. So lots of ways to stay connected, lots of ways to join the community, lots of ways to feel like you're part of the family, which is exactly what we want for you here at Art Beads. All right, that was a lot. The last thing I want to mention is that please be sure that you're setting your reminders for not just this show, but the other designers' shows as well. We've got a ton of projects for you. You've got tons and tons of inspiration right at your fingertips. So be sure you're setting all of your notifications up for all of the lives. All right. Sequisha says she scooched on over. That makes me happy. She scooched. I like it. I like it. All right, so I've got a fun project for you guys. This has actually been a request project. A lot of people have asked me, since we are almost officially in summer. It's still springtime, but if you live where I live, it feels like summer already. But one of the summer jewelry pieces that everybody likes is an ankle bracelet. And I don't normally do ankle bracelet projects because everybody's ankles are different. And I never feel like I know what the medium, like the midsection size is. With bracelets, there's an industry excuse me. With bracelets, there's an industry standard, which is 7.5 inches. With ankle bracelets, it's a little bit different. There's not really a true standard measurement. So my suggestion would be just to kind of measure out yourself and figure out what is going to be comfortable for you and then adjust accordingly. I wish I could give you like a, there's just not a really good one. And if you look it up, you'll see that there's a couple of different sizes. So it's hard to know like what the actual standard is. So, but that being said, if you like ankle bracelets, but you don't like to wear them, you can always turn this into a bracelet. We're going to be using the tying station. We're going to be using some S-Lon. We're going to be using some crystals. So let's get turned around and do it, shall we? All right, guys, there's our sample right here for you to see. Now, this is macrame, but this is macrame with beads, and that makes me all types of happy. So I want to show this project to you guys. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. I don't know if we'll get all the way through it, but we do have a finished sample here that we can finish up with if we need to, but we will do as much of this as we possibly can. So we are actually using bead stringing wire as the core, so this is very much a grown-up bracelet because we've got that bead stringing wire, and we're using hardware for this as well. So we're using our jump rings, we're using our crimps, we're using our lobster clasp. But the outside of this, or the actual work of the piece itself, is macrame. And we're using some S-Lon here and some beautiful prestige crystals, as well as some Toho beads. And what makes this an ankle bracelet over just a regular bracelet, and this is why I say you can wear this as a bracelet, but I think what kind of sets this apart is the drops that are on this. So you can see the drops, it's really kind of set up so that it goes one direction when you wear it on your ankle. Now that's not to say that you couldn't wear this as a bracelet, right, and have the drops going a certain direction. However, you could potentially put drops on either side and then it wouldn't make any difference, right? It could go either way. But I'm going to show you how to do all of this. This is just with some square knots, which we've done before. We're going to revisit those square knots step by step. And we're going to add in all of these beautiful beads. Now let me show you what those beads are. I'm also going to add a charm to this, a Green Girl Studio charm, which I thought was really pretty. So I'm going to be adding this. Wanda said that could be a headband. It's a tiara. Oh my, it could be. Oh, like a princess circlet. Oh, I love that. Don't threaten me with a good time, because I will have this on my head before you know it. Trust me. So I wanted to add a Green Girl Studio charm to this. Now, if you're going to wear this as a bracelet, charm is a great idea. If you're going to wear this as an anklet, you might want to think about the charm. Maybe not, but I couldn't resist because it was just so pretty. It had this really pretty 4-leaf clover on it, and it says lucky on the back. Who doesn't love a good Green Girl Studio charm? I couldn't help myself. So, all right. Now, as far as the beads are concerned, I'm using 2 of the Prestige 5000 beads, which ultimately is just a round bead that has facets. But in these 2 absolutely beautiful colors, we have the Pacific Opal Shimmer, and then this one is just blue zircon. So those are the 2 color choices, though there are a ton on the website. So if these colors don't speak to you, I'm sure you can find some on the website that will. I've got my crimps in here and my wire guardians. We'll talk about those here in just a minute when we get started. I do want to show you the toe hose that I am using. I'm using some, let's see here, size 6 toe hose. These are jonquil lined light aquamarine. So these are really pretty because they kind of look like they glow. And then we are using the size 8s. And these are marbled opaque turquoise blue, also really, really pretty. So I'm kind of feeling this color palette. It definitely feels like summertime, or kind of feels like hanging out next to the pool. But if this color palette is not your favorite, like I said, there's a ton of beads to choose from on the website. So there are other prestige beads that you can pick out, and a whole lot of Toho. So if these are not your favorites, I'm sure you can find some that will be. All right, now I'm also using Eslon, and the Eslon that I am using, this is Super Eslon in vintage green. My little baggie just says vintage, but you can click on the item and it's gonna tell you exactly what that color is. I apologize, my little sticker is only halfway on there, so. But I think it's a really pretty, it looks very similar to the smaller of the Toho beads. So I thought this was a nice choice, but you can pick out one that you like. We're also going to be using our tying station, which just got restocked on the website. So if you've been looking to grab a tying station, now is the time to do that, because they are available for purchase. And I'm also going to be using some bead stringing wire. And I'm using the house wire today, some Art Beads Designer Jewelry wire, 49 strand, and it only takes a little bit of this, enough to make a bracelet or an anklet. You don't want to overdo it, but I'm going to grab some of my wire here and we're going to get started. Vintage jade. Thank you. I knew it was something. I knew it wasn't just vintage, so. All right, let me use my pliers, get this sticker undone. All right, so I'm going to get about 10 inches of the bead stringing wire. Now, that's a little bit longer than the project that I'm going to be making, but the reason that I'm doing that is because I need enough of this beading wire to, number one, get my hardware attached to the ends, but also to secure to my tying station. I'm going to lift you up just a little bit. Oh, gosh. Right out of the tripod. It was a little too high. I'm going to get you out of that and into our tying station. So the tying station, I'm about to show you, sorry, just our tying station on the ends, both ends you can open up. So if you're unfamiliar with the tying station, let me walk you through this one real quick. So the tying station is basically a tool that you can use for getting your fingers underneath things. I know that sounds weird, and that's definitely not what the instructions say on the box, but ultimately that's what this is. You can secure your work, whatever that happens to be, whether you're making a stringing project, a knotting project, or whatever it is, you can secure it at both ends of the tying station, and then you've got your hands free to do whatever it is that you're going to be doing. For us, we're going to be doing knotting, so it's nice. I'm going to be able to secure both ends of my beading wire. And then I can keep up with it because I've got a ruler on the side here that is going to keep me from having to guess at the length of my project. So what you're going to do is you're going to unscrew your wing nut and your washer, and you can take all of this completely off if you want to set your work, but for me, I'm just going to loosen it so that I can slide my bead stringing wire, one end of it right underneath in between these two acrylic plates. And I want to set it right about there, and then I'm going to tighten it back down. Okay. Now, before I secure the end, I'm going to thread on my beads, the beads that are going to be actually sitting on the beading wire. So some of my beads you can see are on the outside edges, but these large crystal beads, those are going to be on the beading wire. So I can go ahead and load those up onto my bead stringing wire. And I'm going to load 5 of these. At any point during the show today, if you guys will hit those heart buttons to let me know that you are there and that you are loving things. If you see something that you love, a part of a technique or just a product, or you're just having a good time, hitting those heart buttons is a great way to show your love and support. Some of you are already doing that. And also, if you don't mind to share this onto social media, it's a great way to reach out and connect with other potential makers. So if you can share this to a Facebook group, or if you want to share this on your own social media, that is a great way to build this amazing community. All right, so now I am going to, like you saw me do at the top, I'm going to secure my bottom by sliding this between the two plates and then screwing this down. Okay, so now this is secure. Our beads are secure. I don't have to worry about stopping what I'm doing to load up the beads or load one bead at a time. I've got my hands free to do all of the knotting that I want to do. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use our Eslon here, and I'm going to use 3 wingspans of Eslon, and I know that doesn't mean a lot to you, but basically what we're looking for is about 6 to 8 feet. I know that's a lot, but this is a lot of knotting that is happening, so I'm going to do probably somewhere closer to about 7 feet. And I'm going to use my beautiful tulip scissors here. You guys, if you need a good pair of scissors, these are amazing. They are so crazy sharp, and they come with a little leather protector. I love these, and if I see anybody in my family using these to cut anything other than this, like this kind of cord or wildfire, y'all, somebody's gonna have to help me hide a body, because you don't want to use these on anything like paper or plastic or packing materials. Please don't grab your good scissors for that, right? Get yourself a pair of desk scissors with plastic handles, just like from the box store, but get yourself a pair of these for all of your crafting needs, because they are crazy sharp and so nice. This is one of the best things that I have gotten in a while, so I highly recommend those if you need a good pair of sharp scissors. Okay, so now Katie says, lots of thunderstorms. Please stay safe, everybody who is in the line of those thunderstorms. All right, if you lose me, you can always come back and watch me as a replay, but I want you to be safe more than anything. Okay, so I'm going to take my cord that I just cut, and I'm going to bring my 2 ends together. I'm going to take one of those ends and go underneath the bead stringing wire, and then I'm going to pull until I find the middle. All right, so I have the middle lined up here underneath my bead stringing wire, and now I'm going to create a square knot. And guys, the square knot happens in 2 steps, and we've actually done a square knot in several projects. So this may be a refresher for some of you. This may be the first time you've ever seen it. I always start on the right. And so what I do is I take my right hand cord and I make a P shape, and that P shape goes over the top of our bead stringing wire, okay, which we're going to call our core. The left wire crosses over that wire, this cord rather, that is now running out to the left. So it crosses over that, and then you go behind the bead stringing wire and up through that P shape on the right. And you pull. The first knot is always kind of tricky, especially when you're trying to see what it looks like. But that's the first step. The second step of this is the opposite direction, but it's exactly the same thing. So we're going to make a backwards P shape with the cord going across the top of our core. The right-handed cord crosses over that, goes behind and up through the backwards P shape on the left. And then you're going to pull. Okay. Now I'm going to show you up close what that little knot looks like. Okay. Now it doesn't look like much when it's just a single knot. I'll give you another really good close-up of this when we get a few more knots. Okay, because we're actually going to do about 4 of these knots without any beads, and then we're going to start to add some beads to this. So you're going to get a good little bit of practice before we start adding the beads, okay? All right, so again, and it happens in 2 steps. If you don't do both steps, you're going to get a spiral, which is great, but what we want is a square knot. So we want ours to be nice and flat. So we're making our P shape on the right, okay, with that cord going across the top of our core. Okay, left-handed cord is going to cross over that, and then it is going to go, if I can hold on to it, it's going to go behind and up through on the right, coming up through that P shape. Okay. Pull. Now do the left side. Our backwards P shape. Right-handed cord crosses over that and goes behind and up through, and then pull. That's 2. Okay, let's do 2 more, and then we'll do another really good close-up of this so you can see these knots in a row. All right, P shape on the right, left cord crosses over, goes behind and up through, and pull. Backwards P shape on this side, right cord crosses over, goes behind and up through, and pull. That's 3. Let's do 1 more. All right. Well, I mean, we're gonna do a lot more, but let's do 1 more, and then we'll take another look at them. All right. P shape, left cord crosses over, goes behind and up through, pull. Backwards P shape on the left, right cord crosses over, goes behind and up through. If I can grab a hold of it, it will. All right, and pull. All right, let's get a good close-up of this, shall we? So you guys can see these knots. All right, now what I want to point out is how you count the knots. You always want to count the knots on the side that you started with. So if you're a left-handed person, and let's say you start your square knots on the left, then you want to count your knots on the left. If you're a right-handed person and you start on the right, you want to count on the right. Or, you know, it doesn't really have anything to do with what handed you are. It just depends on what side you start on. I always start on the right, so I always count my knots on the right. And what I'm counting is the little bumps here. So there's a bump right there. There's a bump right here. There's a bump right here. And there's a bump right here. That tells me there's 1, 2, 3 full knots. Okay. Now, if I have to get up in the middle of the knot, let's say I've done the first step and then I have to get up and go do something, right? And then I come back to this. How will I know How will I know if I start on the right or if I start on the left? It's going to depend on whether or not there's a full bump there. So with this, I can see there's a full bump right here. That means that knot was completely finished. That means I'm going to start again on the right. If I come to this and the right side looks like the left side where there's not, you can just see this, the cord coming out, right? And there's not a full bump. That lets me know that I need to finish with that step. So I need to do the left step and then I'll be ready to start again on the right. So that's how you keep up with all of it. And a lot of it really just kind of comes with practice. You get used to what it looks like and then you'll really start to see those bumps, because I know like this, sometimes it's kind of hard to actually see those, but I promise they're there. Okay, so so far what we've done is we have done macrame with no, or square knots with no beads, right? Well, now we're going to slide this up. Okay, and we are going to get ready to add some beads to this. So we are going to add beads to the outer edges. So each time we make a knot, we are going to add beads. So we're going to start out with the smaller toe hose. We're going to start out with the size 8s, and we're going to do 2 knots with the 8s, and then a knot with the 6s, and then 2 knots with the 8s, and then I'll show you how to do this part right here. But to get started, you just want to dump out your beads. Now this is a time-consuming process. That's why I say we're going to get as much of this done as we can, but we may need to walk through the end of this and then refer to our finished sample, because this really does kind of take some time. And I know we do a lot of like chatting at the beginning of the project, so that always kind of takes some of the time away. So we don't really have a full hour on the project, but all right, so I've got my beads ready to go out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right-handed cord and I'm going to add a toho. So I'm going to add a seed bead to that, and I'm going to drop that down. You can see it's going to fall right in there, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to take another one of those size 8s. And I'm going to drop that down. Okay. All right. Now I've got 2 beads here, and I'm going to knot just like normal. So I'm going to do my P shape on the right, cross over on the left, go behind and up through. Whoops. Okay. And pull. I have some really grumpy dogs today. I'm really sorry. Oh goodness. All right, and then you're going to pull. And when you pull, it's going to put those 2 beads out here on the outer edges of your bead stringing wire, right? So they're kind of sitting on the outer edge, which is a really cool look. All right, and then we're going to finish that off with the P shape, or the backwards P shape on the left, crossing over, going behind and up through. And then you're going to secure by pulling. So once you get that second step in, that is really going to set those beads in place. Okay. Now the S-line is a little slippery. So sometimes after that first step with the beads in particular, it's going to try to slide. The knot's going to try to slide out on you. So you go ahead and get that second step in. Sometimes you need to tighten that first step again before you secure it. All right. So let's do that again. Let's add a bead to each side. And really what the most time-consuming part of this project is just adding the beads. That's all. It's not like, you know, a really labor-intensive, crazy technique or anything like that that makes this take a while. It's just that, you know, you're working with a lot of cord. You got to slide those beads on one at a time. Okay, P shape on the right. Left cord crosses over, goes behind and up through, and pull. And then our backwards P shape on the left, right cord crosses over, goes behind and up through. Okay, and then you can see it kind of came undone. So I'm gonna pull that one and then set it with that second step, right? All right, now let's change up the look of this a little bit by just changing the size of the bead. So it's exactly the same thing, but instead of those size 8s. Now we're going to use the size 6s. So thread a size 6 bead on. All right, drop one of those down on each side. Okay, and then proceed with your square knots. So we'll do the right side. Kind of fumbly because I'm looking at this through the camera and not not directly on. So if I look like Butterfingers here, it's because I'm not actually looking at what I'm really doing. I'm looking at this through the camera. So apologize. I do know what I'm doing, I promise. All right, there we go. All right, so you can see this kind of changes the look a little bit just by adjusting the size of the bead. So hopefully this will inspire you, because maybe this project all the way through is not your favorite, but I hope that it inspires you to use beads and different sizes of beads in your macrame, because you can get some really different looks just by adjusting, you know, where you place the beads, the sizes of the beads, and things like that. All right, so for our pattern though, we are going to now go back to the smaller seed beads, and we're going to do 2 more. All right, so another, did I even, no, I did not. Another seed bead. That's why it's funny to do this over the camera and not actually watch what I'm doing. It's almost like, it's not backwards, so it's not like looking through a mirror, but it is almost as disorienting for sure. Okay, dropping a bead down on both sides. Right? All right, and we're doing that P shape on the right, crossing over on the left. It's the grabbing of the cord. That's the part that always gets me, because I'm looking and like the depth perception is just a little bit different through the camera. Oh man. Okay. So that's the right side. Now we got to lock that in place with the left side. Okay. And then pull. All right, and then we're going to do one more, and then we're going to change this up a little bit. Okay, we're going to get a little fancy. Not too fancy, but a little fancy. So we're going to add one more bead on each side. Okay, drop that down. All right, and do the square knot. Pull. All right, and then our backwards P shape, or a Q if you want to call it that. I already have a Q in my life, so I don't like to call it a Q. I have a Q already. All right, and pull. All right, so now we've done a little pattern here with 2 of the smaller ones, 1 of the larger ones, 2 of the smaller ones. Now it's time to get a little fancier by adding some more beads to this. So we're going to do 2 things. Not only are we going to add beads on the outside edge, more than 1 at a time, but we're also going to slide a bead up in the middle as well. So let's get ready to do that. We're going to take one of the beads that we pre-added to our beading wire. We're going to slide that up. Now, to go around the outside edge of this, instead of just picking up 1 seed bead, we're going to pick up 3 of the smaller ones, 1 of the larger ones, and 3 of the smaller ones on the right. What we do on the left, that's a little bit different. So let's go ahead and pick those beads up. So I've got my right-handed cord here, and I'm going to pick up 3 of the smaller beads. Okay. 1 of the larger beads, and then 3 of the smaller beads. Okay, and then you're going to drop all of those down. Okay, now on the other side, we're gonna make a drop. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up 3 of the smaller beads, 1 of the larger beads, and then a crystal and another small bead. And then we're gonna have to turn around and go back up through the beads. So I'll show you that. So go ahead and pick up 3 of the smaller beads. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Then you're gonna pick up a size 6. Then you're gonna pick up 1 of your crystals, and you're gonna pick up another of the smaller size 8s. Okay, and you're gonna drop all of this down, and it may help you to turn your tying station sideways just to kind of get a better look at this so that you kind of get an idea of what we're doing. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn around. So I'm gonna take my cord and I'm gonna skip over this last seed bead that we just added, but I'm gonna go back up through my crystal and back up through my size 6. Okay, and then I'm going to pull out all of the slack. When I start to pull out that slack, I'm going to grab that little seed bead and I'm going to pull, 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 pull until I've got it pulled all the way up right there. That little seed bead is acting as our stopper, right? Now I'm going to add 3 more of the little seed beads, the smaller seed beads. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and 3. All right, now we're ready to knot. We did all of that and we haven't even done a knot yet. So now I can pick up my cords, right? And I will do my square knot just like what we've been doing. So I don't have to change the knot. It still goes exactly the same way. You start on the right and pull. And when you pull, create a little frame around your bead, right? And then you're going to do the left-handed side, 2, lock all of that in. Okay. All right, now set that again and lock it in place. And you've got yourself a little drop. Now, you can do this on both sides if you want to, and then you have, you know, it doesn't matter which direction this goes. So if you want to wear it as a bracelet, you've got those on both sides. But if you're going to do it as an ankle bracelet, like what I'm kind of planning for this one to be, then all of these, of course, are going to hang down as it's wrapped around your ankle. But that is the pattern. Now we're going to do another one of these little sections and then another one of these. And that's what you're going to do through the entire rest of the anklet. Right? It's just a little section like this and then a drop and then a section and a drop. And you can get really creative with these drops. You can do all kinds of things. You can do teardrop shaped beads here. You could do charms here. You can do any number of things. And you can do the same with the beads around the edges. If you wanted to do like rainbows or whatever you wanted to do, you can get really creative with this. Okay. All right. So let's do another little set. So I'm thinking we'll do one more set, right? We'll do another set of this and then one more of these. And then I'm going to show you how to finish this off because we definitely will not get through the entire project, but you will have all of the steps that you need to finish this, I promise. So let's go ahead and do our smaller seed beads. Right? All right, so doing our square knots, starting on the right. Pull. And then moving on to the left. And lock that in. Oh gosh. Got my cord attached to the bottom there. I almost pulled this off the table. All right, and then same thing again. So a bead, 1 bead per strand, just for this little section. All right, drop that down. And then do your square knots to lock all of this in place. Thank you, Kim. I hope you love it. I hope that when you go to try it, that it doesn't frustrate you, that you find that it's really pretty and it inspires you to do more knotting. I love that I can use my tying station to use the bead stringing wire as the core, but you don't have to. You could use some more of the S-line as the core, right? You could put leather on your tying station. Like, there's so many things you can do with this tying station. I just really enjoy that I can secure my work, whatever it happens to be, and then I can really play around with this. So with like stringing, I like to use the bead stoppers on the ends, right? Well, when you're doing knotting projects, sometimes you need something like that, you know, that works sort of like a bead stopper. This is very much that, but it comes with the benefit of being able to hold it nice and tight and also measure for you. It's great for friendship bracelets. It's good for stringing. It's good for all kinds of things. So anytime you need to secure your work, even if you're not doing a knotting project, this is a nice little tool to do that with. And then as you're creating these macrame patterns with beads, hopefully that will inspire you to get creative in other ways as well, because really kind of shows you how to play with texture, you know, especially when you are changing up the sizes of your beads. It really kind of gives you an idea of, you know, how just changing the sizes of the beads and the placement of the beads in your knots can really change things. And I think that kind of translates over into your other things as well, like your wire wrapping and your stringing. So I'm always going to come back to macrame because that's really kind of where I got started in jewelry making. And I take a lot of the things that I've learned from macrame and incorporate those ideas into other things. And I love that you can do things like this, like a loop, instead of using, you know, head pins and jump rings and all of those. Like, I can do all of those same really cool looks with just making knots, which is really intriguing to me. Okay, let's do one more set of the small beads and then we'll do our little drop section again. So I will know that you have at least seen it twice. Okay, square knots again. Okay, and pull, and then do the left side to set it. Okay, all right, we're gonna slide up our bead. Okay, and on the right-handed side, we want to pick up 3 of the 6s. 1 8, I'm sorry, 3 8s, 1 6. I always get those backwards. 3 8s, 1 6, and 3 8s. Okay. All right, so there are the 3 8s. Here's the 6 and 3 more of the 8s. Okay, we're going to drop that down. All right, now we're going to do the other side. Okay, so we're going to pick up 3 of the 8s. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we're going to pick up a 6. Then we're going to pick up our crystal and our seed bead. We're going to drop all that down. Okay, and then we're going to take our cord, we're going to skip over that last seed bead that we added, and we're going to go back up through the crystal. The dog snoring. And then up through that size 6. Okay, and then we're going to pull. And as I pull out the slack, I've got that little seed bead here in my finger, between my fingers. And I'm going to kind of hold on to it as I pull out the rest of the slack. Part of the reason that I hold on to it as I'm pulling out the slack is because sometimes the S-line wants to twist on you. And I definitely don't want to get any twists that could come out later and create a big gap of space. So that's why I kind of hold on to it. All right, and then we're going to pick up 3 more seed beads of the smaller seed beads, and we're going to do our knot. And then for the sake of time, I'm going to show you how to finish this, even though we're not done. All right, dropping that down. Okay. All right, now we're ready to do our square knot, and it is exactly the same regardless of how many beads we have on our cord. So P shape on the right, right? And then our crossover behind and up through. And you're going to pull to create your little frame. And then you're going to do the backwards P shape, cross over that, go behind and up through to set it. And you may need to re-pull that first half of that knot. Now you can see one of my beads is trying to sneak in. You have to be sure your beads don't sneak into your knot. Okay. And then you're just going to repeat this pattern all the way down until you get this the length that you want. Now, obviously, if you're doing a bracelet, 7.5 inches, that's the standard. If you're doing an ankle bracelet, add an inch to that. Add an 1.5 inches to that. Sometimes it's better just to kind of measure for yourself. If you're doing this for a client, definitely get a measurement. But if you're going to do this for your booth or your website, I would say 8.5 inches is probably pretty close. But like I said, if you Google the standard size of an ankle bracelet, you're going to get probably 3 different answers. So you can make it like 8 inches and then add an extension chain if you want to. That's also really helpful. Or you can make the clasp adjustable by, instead of doing the jump rings and the clasp, you could do a sliding knot with the S-line if you wanted to. So you do have some options there when it comes to the adjustability of the size of this, because ankle bracelets are just kind of hard to measure, just being honest. Okay, so I know we have not finished this. Let me do one more square knot on this just so that I can kind of get away from that drop section. And I'm gonna pick up the sample here and kind of walk you through the finishing as far as the pattern is concerned. We will do the actual crimping though. Okay, so for the finished piece, okay, you would keep going, obviously, and just repeat your pattern as many times as you want to. I did it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, okay? And then when I got to the end, I finished with more square knots. So if you start with like 4 square knots, end with 4 square knots. If you start with 3s, end with 3, whatever, just to make it kind of even. That's definitely my recommendation. And then I melted the ends. You can either tie the ends off and glue them, or you can melt them. I like to melt them. I know everybody kind of cringes when I get the fire out, because I have been known to burn a project, set a project on fire. But I really kind of like how clean a finish you can get when you melt the ends of this. Now, you can't melt the ends of everything. So if you're using hemp, you cannot melt the ends. You're going to have to tie it down. But since I'm using S-line, I'm going to go ahead and take this off the tying station just to make this a little bit easier for me. But if you're using the S-line, since it's nylon, it melts really nicely. All right, so the key to the melting is to trim it as close as you can get. Why did I pick up the bad scissors? What? I have good scissors, like literally right here. You just trim that right on up, right where I want it to be, right? Nice and short. I can't believe I picked up those funny scissors, and I have the good ones right here. They're even in the show. All right, and then you're going to use a lighter or a thread burner, okay? If you don't want to use a lighter, use the thread burners. The thread burners, you got to be careful though, because if you get melted nylon on the tip of your thread burner, it ruins it. So that's why I always go for a lighter instead. And then just tap that down with your finger, right? And you have clean ends, which is really nice. And you can see on this one, just nice clean ends. You tap it down, it's melted, the melting acts as good as glue, and you're ready to go, right? So then you're just gonna add your hardware because you've got your two ends that are ready for hardware. So I'm gonna put a crimp on one of the ends here, and then we're going to move over to the sample and add our pretty little charm to our sample. All right, so you're just going to take a crimp bead, you're going to slide that down, and then use your wire guardian. Go up through the wire guardian. And then you're going to go back down through the wire guardian and down through your crimp. Right, and you're going to pull all of the slack out. And just like with any crimping project, you want to be sure that your wires are not crisscrossing inside there, that they're running parallel. Okay, and then you're going to come in with your crimper tool. You're going to place that into the back notch. Squeeze, and then you're going to turn that sideways, put that into the front notch of the crimper tool, and squeeze. Whoops. All right, and then you're going to come in with your cutter and you're going to trim off the excess, and you've got a nice clean end that now you can add your jump rings and your clasp to, right? So you've got a really good finished end here. You could add a decorative clasp if you wanted to. On our sample here, we have just two jump rings, right, and a clasp, but I wanted to add that beautiful charm, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to attach that to one of these jump rings here. So I'm going to grab my pliers and my charm. And I already have a jump ring on my charm. We'll need to add one. But I'm going to open that with a twist, and then I'm going to attach that to one of the jump rings, doesn't matter which one, so that I now have a pretty charm on this as well. So I've got all my little drops, and then I've got a really pretty charm, and I've got a beachy little piece of jewelry that I can wear. So I can put this on with my favorite sandals and pretend like I'm at the ocean, even though I'm miles and miles and miles away from it. Or if you don't like ankle jewelry and this is a little bit too much for ankle jewelry for you, this would make a beautiful bracelet as well. I think that it doesn't even matter that it's got the drops on it. I think the drops would be pretty on a bracelet, though you can leave the drops out if you want to, right? So you can kind of imagine looking at it like this, where I've got that drop covered up. So you could do just the beads if you wanted to, or you could put the drops on both sides, or you could make the drops smaller with the smaller bead. You can get really, really creative with your macrame, and I hope that I'm inspiring you to do so, right? Because it's a lot of fun, and you can really create some fun looks. It's very much the adult friendship bracelet, right? This is not like your summer camp bracelet. This is 100% a grown-up adult beverage in hand, hanging out by the pool kind of friendship bracelet, but it still gives you that nice nostalgia from, you know, your younger years. It still gives you all of the feels, right? At least it does for me, because I really just kind of love macrame, but it's a throwback for me because of my teenage years and where I started in jewelry making, but it's still very much popular and in style. Macrame is like pearl knotting and seed beading. It's never going away. So the best we can do is just take it and find new ways to be creative with it and find, you know, trendy pieces or classic styles that you can create with your macrame, because you really can achieve a lot with just a couple of knots and some beautiful beads. All right, guys, I'm going to turn you around. I hope that everybody has enjoyed today's project. And if you did not like the color palette today, please be sure that you are checking out the website, because there's a ton of color choices. If these colors are not yours and you'd rather make yours in purple, I guarantee you can find all of the items in a different color, a purple, a pink, a yellow, whatever makes you happy, right? But I hope to have inspired you, as always. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for letting me be a part of your Friday afternoon. As I mentioned earlier, don't forget to set your reminders for not just this show, same time, same place next week, but for all of the other amazing designers that we have on the design team. You don't want to miss a single one of those projects. But the good news is that even if you do, you can always come back and watch them as a video on demand. Be sure you're signing up for that newsletter so that you can stay in the know for all things art beads. And for those of you who are going to make your way over to Beadfest, we do have some seats open. There's just a handful of them, and we want your butts in those seats. We do. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I want you to come and hang out with me. Come take a class. It's going to be so much fun, and we would absolutely love to have you. So if you can swing it, come on by. We've got a coupon code to give you a little bit of a discount. And yeah, that's it, you guys. I'm out of here. Have an amazing rest of your day and a wonderful weekend, you guys. And I will see you back here, same time, same place next week.